Well, hello there. This is Erin, and I am here to do a video about distressed property. So the real estate market runs in cycles, and there's a lot of people who feel like we might be heading into a downturn potentially, where there's going to be some distressed property on the market. And three of my agents this week have reached out to me and asked, I've got these investors, they're looking for some distressed property. How can I find some of that? And eh, how do I put this? Right now, properties are selling like crazy and the market is great and a lot of people have equity. There are a lot of people thinking that in the fourth quarter of this year, we could start seeing some more short sales, more bank owned, more foreclosures. Because why? Because given what we've been going through in the macroeconomic level, there are a lot of people who may not be paying their rent and a lot of people who may not be paying their mortgage, which is going to cause some distress in the housing market. So I don't have a crystal ball, but I do know that I've gotten this question like three times this week. And I do know that a lot of agents were not licensed during the last downturn when a lot of us already lived this dream. And even some of the agents who did go through the last downturn didn't necessarily work with a lot of distressed properties. So today in this video, I want to talk about how to use the MLS, and I'm just talking MLS. I'm not talking any other ways to find those deals. So when you go into MLS and you create a search, there is a feature called Special Listing Condition, and that is a search category. I counted today, and there are 7 categories that you're going to want to check potentially in searching for distressed property right now. So let's say you've got an investor, he's looking in Chandler, and he tells you he's looking for REOs, short sales, foreclosures, that kind of thing. Go into the MLS, search for Chandler, and then these are the 7 categories that are in the MLS. And by the way, there are 16 special listing conditions now in the special listing condition category, 16. And again, 7 of them are distressed. And I'm going to talk about the 7 that are distressed and what they mean. Okay, so the first category that you're going to see in there is short sale approval required. This means that the property is listed for sale. They know they're underwater and they know that they're going to have to get a short sale approved with their bank. So essentially at market price, let's say the market price of the house is $300,000. They already know that after they pay their realtor and after they pay their closing costs, that they don't have enough equity left in that house to pay the bank off, and they're going to be short, and they're going to need the bank to give them some debt forgiveness. Okay. And it could be more than one bank. It could be 2 or 3. They could have a first, a second, and a third mortgage. So anyways, the bank or banks need to approve their shortfall and give them debt forgiveness for that shortfall. That is what we call short sale approval required. Okay. Now, there are 2 other categories of short sales. And so I would recommend checking all 3. The 2 other categories are previously approved short sale and lender approved short sale. So a previously approved short sale would be a situation where it was a short sale listing. They had a buyer. The buyer wrote the offer. The seller accepted it, meaning Joe Smith, the distressed seller. They shipped the whole short sale package off to the bank, and the bank approved that short sale deal. However, the buyer walked. Maybe they canceled in the inspection period. Maybe they found another house they like. For whatever reason, the buyer walked. And so now they've gone through the process of having the bank approve it, which can take some time, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 months. And now all they need is just a new buyer to come in and put the offer in, and then they will try to get it all approved again. But it should go faster this time. And so that's a previously approved short sale. Then you have a lender approved short sale. And what this means is that it was previously approved, or the lender has already said that at the list price, let's say it's listed for $300,000, the lender has already approved that they're going to net what they need to net, and they're going to do the debt forgiveness. And so basically it should be a faster process because the lender has already approved the short sale versus we have to go through the whole process of getting it approved. So those are your three flavors of short sales. Short sale, pre-approved short sale, previously approved short sale, and lender approved short sale. And if I was looking for short sales, I would check all three of those boxes. Then we have the lender owned / REO. So lender owned / REO category is basically what we think of as a foreclosure. The bank has already taken back the house and the bank is now listing it. And when a bank sells a property, they call that REO, or real estate owned. And so they're your foreclosures. So if you're looking for foreclosures, you're going to check the box for lender owned REO. The next one is called a HUD owned property. So sometimes when the bank forecloses on a property, it goes back to HUD. And that's usually if the original loan on the property was government backed. And so like a FHA loan. Some of those properties, instead of going to Fannie or to Wells Fargo or to Bank of America, those properties will go to HUD, which is the Housing and Urban Development Department at the government. And HUD actually has their own website. And the process for a buyer buying a HUD house is completely different than a regular regular foreclosure. HUD has their own way of doing things. They have a one-page contract. You have to submit the bid online on HUD's website, and you have to have your company's NAID number, NAID, which is a special number I can give you for your brokerage. And you basically bid online. You can get a great deal, but it's like they follow their own process. But you definitely, if you're looking for foreclosures, you want to look for HUD properties, okay? Then there's another category called auction. So sometimes a bank, when they foreclose on a house, will hire a third party to auction it off. And a lot of times these can be bought online before the actual auction happens. Sometimes you can go to the auction, and sometimes it's just an online auction process. So you kind of have to read about what's going on in the special remarks. And one thing to know about these auctions is a lot of times the bank or the auction company will announce a opening bid price of like a ridiculously low price. And what that does is, like, everybody knows that the house is worth $200,000, but they'll have an opening bid of $50,000. And so it will create a lot of interest in that property, get a lot of eyes on it, because of course they're not going to sell it for $50,000 or $51,000. They're going to have a reserve price, kind of like on eBay, you have a reserve price. If nobody bids up to that reserve price, they're just going to say, sorry, we're not selling it right now. The auction will just stop. In fact, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll send an email to all the bidders and say, none of you have hit the reserve price, so keep bidding because it's not selling. So it's not a true auction in the sense I think that sometimes people think it's going to be. It's a little different. And then the final category I want to talk about is pre-foreclosure. So a pre-foreclosure is where the foreclosure is already scheduled. So you may have a short sale where the person needs to do a short sale. They know they're underwater, but the bank has not scheduled the foreclosure yet. Maybe they haven't even missed any payments yet. It's a short sale, but it's not a pre-foreclosure. Or you may have a short sale that is also a pre-foreclosure where they've been missing their payments, they are underwater, and the foreclosure is already scheduled. They've already gotten their notice of default, and the foreclosure is scheduled already out there in the tax records. You can see it. It's coming up. So yes, they're short. Yes, they need debt forgiveness, but also the foreclosure is scheduled and we're now racing against the clock. It's in a pre-foreclosure status. And then finally, you may have a situation where it's a pre-foreclosure. We actually had one of these a couple months ago where the seller had not been making their payments, and the bank had sent out the notice of default and they had scheduled the foreclosure, but the seller was not underwater. So it was not a short sale. They had enough equity to sell the house without doing a short sale. And also to pay off the late payments and to pay off any fines and to settle the note. So it was headed towards foreclosure, but they had enough equity to get that house sold without doing a short sale. So you can have just a plain old pre-foreclosure and not be a short sale. It's a property that's on its way to being foreclosed upon, but has not yet gone through that process. So if I was representing a buyer right now and they were saying, hey, I'm looking for deals, I'm looking for some of this distressed property, I'm an investor or I'm just looking for these opportunities, those are the 7 categories in the special listing conditions in the MLS that I would select. None of these conditions are really for the faint of heart. It's always a buyer beware. Buyer has to do their due diligence. Buyer would greatly benefit from utilizing an agent to represent them on these type of situations. And they can all have unexpected twists and turns and complications. So they definitely need some expert representation here. And so those are the categories, and that's how you would create a search on MLS. So go out there and find those properties. I'm going to do another video now showing you how to find the properties that are not on the MLS.